Hi and welcome. Today we're going to work on hamstrings, and that means both strengthening and stretching. So we're going to start on our backs. By the way, if you have a blanket of some sort, have that nearby ready to grab if you need it. So come down lying onto your back. Knees bent. Feet flat on the ground, and you can let your knees fall together. Breathing through your nose. Close your eyes and just feel the expansion of your belly and your rib cage. Feel the expansion coming into your back. And then take your knees to your chest. Give yourself a hug. Maybe move a little from side to side. And grab the outside of your feet. Now, if this is too much for you, you can always grab the back of your thighs. Happy baby. Move a little from side to side. And then release that left leg, let that come down. You've still got the bent knee. And then I want you to grab your right leg behind the thigh here. Just interlace your hands. And then bend the knee, point your toes. And then straighten that right leg. And you might need to, it starts moving back a little. That's fine. Flex the foot. And bend the knee again. Point your toes, straighten the leg, flex your foot, bend the knee. One more time, point your toes, straighten, flex, and bend. And release. Other side, so grab that left thigh, bend the knee, point the toes, straighten, flex, and bend. Point, straighten, flex, and bend. And point, straighten, flex, and bend. And release. Give yourself a big hug. Move a little from side to side. Roll back and forth. And come up to seated. Take your hands to your knees and take a couple of circles. Just waking up your back. Change direction, go the other way. And then come on to all four. Lift your palms up to that first row of knuckles. Get a little bit of stretch into your hands and your fingers. And back down. And up. And down. Up. And down. Move into your cat-cow. Lots of room for exploration here. So you add whatever needs to be added. Checking in with your body. How does that feel today? Tuck your toes. Lift your hips up and back. Keep your knees bent. And then slowly roll forward, vertebra by vertebra. Lower your hips, open up your chest. And roll back. Again, bend your knees. One more time. Roll forward. Open up. And back. And find that first down dog of the day. Whatever needs to be walked out, walk out. Notice, how does your down dog feel today? Remember, if you've got super tight hamstrings, like probably your heels are off the mat. You might even have a little bit of bend in your knees. And remember, you can still stretch your hamstrings with bent knees, so don't force anything. Inhale, lift your right leg up. Exhale, step forward. Come into a lunge. Reaching through that back heel. And then lower down into a low lunge. And this is where it might be handy to have a blanket. If you have a blanket, put it underneath that back knee. You can also turn your mat over and double that one up. We're going to do what is commonly referred to as King Arthur. I want you to grab your back foot and then move the heel towards your butt. And yeah, we're not stretching the hamstring right here. We're stretching the hip flexor in the front. But remember, everything in your body is connected. So even though we're focusing on hamstring today, doesn't mean we don't touch upon the other muscles. Then I want you to start pushing your foot into your hand, opening up. Now you'll start feeling the hamstring. And release, move the heel towards the butt again. Gently let go of the foot. And then straighten your front leg, come into half split. Pull that right thigh bone into your hip socket. And keep that foot flexed. I want you to externally, internally start rotating this leg. The rotation is coming from the top of your thigh bone here. And at the same time, you're still pulling the thigh bone into your hip socket, still lengthening your spine. So you're stretching the hamstring as you're moving. So when we refer to the hamstring, know that it is in fact more than one muscle. It is 3 muscles. So that's why it's important to actually put a little bit of movement into it when you're stretching the hamstring, because otherwise we're just addressing one part of it, and it is 3 different muscles. Come forward. Step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left leg up. Exhale, step forward, come into your lunge. And reaching through that back heel. And then lower the knee down. Same thing. Find some support for your knee if you need it. And then grab that back foot. Move the heel towards your butt. And it's okay if it doesn't get all the way to the butt. If you're super tight in your quads or hip flexors, it is what it is. So you are going to do your version here. Start pressing that foot into your hand, opening up, engaging your hamstring. heel back towards the butt. Gently release. Come into your half split. Flex the foot, pull the thigh bone inwards, and start rotating. Still stretching the hamstring. And step back to plank pose. And then come all the way down onto your belly. Inhale, cobra, your variation. So it's okay, it's just a baby cobra. Come back down. Plank pose, downward facing dog. Look forward. Walk to the front of your mat. And come into a ragdoll forward fold. So have a little bit of space in between your feet, a little bend in your knees. Just melt your belly onto your thighs. And you'll notice that even though your knees are bent, you're still lengthening and stretching the hamstrings. Make sure you're relaxing your upper body, so you're very much just using gravity here to lengthen. You're not pulling anything, you're not pushing yourself into a depth of the pose that you're not ready for. Maybe nod, yes, no. Just make sure that you're nice and loose. And slowly roll all the way up to standing. Reach your arms up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale, reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. And then what I want you to do is imagine the top of your sit bones kind of go upwards. So you're almost like tilting your sit bones upwards. And with that engagement, I want you to lift the front of your right foot off the mat. So you're kind of lifting the front foot, coming onto your heel of that right foot. Keep lifting your sit bones and then down. And lift the foot and down. Lift and down. Lift, down, lift, and down. Over to the other side. First, I want you to kind of reiterate, because we lose it. We very easily lose it if we stop having that internal dialogue with ourselves. So lift the sit bones and over onto the left foot. Lift the foot, come onto the heel, and down. Up and down. Up and down, up, down, up, and down, and fold. So that's known as nerve flossing. Often we just think we have tight hamstrings, but quite often we also have tight nerves. And we have this big nerve going down the back of your leg that you probably know. It's called the sciatic nerve, and often we can have a whole range of problems with that big nerve. So these nerves don't react very well to just being stretched. They like to be flossed. And I know it sounds so gross because it is literally like flossing your teeth. But anyway, that's what we're doing here. We're literally flossing the nerve down your leg. So you're just going to move it back and forth. And that's how you start lengthening or de-tightening the nerve. Anyway, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step back to plank pose. Vinyasa. Inhale, lift your right leg up. Exhale, step forward, come into a lunge. And then come forward into a warrior three. Make sure that back leg is lifting itself, so hamstring, glute. Step back, pivot to the left, and then I want you to bend your left knee, come into skater pose, arms out to the side. Keep pressing into both of your feet here, and breathe. This is a heat builder. Hands to the mat, straighten that left leg. Take a fold. And then walk your hands to the front. Come into your high lunge. Take your hands to your hips and start setting up for pyramid. So that might mean stepping that back foot up a little bit. Back heel comes down, straighten that front leg. Remember, we're on little railroad tracks here, so our heels are not in line because we want to create space for our hips. Pull that right thigh bone into your hip socket as you fold into your pyramid. Remember, it's always okay to prop yourself up on blocks here if this is too much for you to get your hands down on the mat. Keep pressing into your big toes. And then I want you to imagine that you have a tail and you're going to slow motion wag your invisible tail here. So again, we just want to get into all the hamstring muscles. Just slowly going from side to side. Come to center. Step back to plank pose. Vinyasa. And as you're in downward facing dog, you might even be able to see right now that you got a little bit more length in your right leg compared to your left. I can see it. So if you kind of look up, be like, if you look at your crutch right now, you might be able to see it. Inhale, lift your left leg. Exhale, step back or step forward into your lunge. Warrior three, again, be really conscious about that back leg lifting itself. Square hips. Hamstring and glute are working really hard here. Step back, pivot to the right, bend your right knee, arms out to the side, skater pose. Keep pressing into both of your feet. This is a heat builder. Hands to the mat, straighten that right leg and fold. Inhale, lengthen. Walk your hands to the front, come into your lunge. Hands to your hips. Set up for your pyramid. Strong quad, strong calf muscle, and pull that left thigh bone into your hip socket as you fold. And again, your invisible tail, slowly start wagging. And come to center. Step back to plank pose, Vinyasa. And again, you can look up at your leg kind of crotch area and see. You might have lengthened the other leg now too. So they actually say that if you have a regular yoga practice, you will actually grow a little in height. Come forward into a plank pose. Down onto your forearms, lower into a Sphinx pose. Shoulder blades slide down your back. And then press your hands into the mat, lift your forearms, come into seal pose. Make sure your shoulders didn't just slide up to your ears. And come back down. We're going to take an active bow pose. So you're going to bend the knees. Instead of grabbing the ankles, though, as we normally do in a bow pose, we're just going to reach our arms back. What I want you to really focus on is lifting the legs up. So yes, this is a hamstring killer. I apologize in advance. Lift your chest up, reach your arms back, and lift. You can flex your feet, a little bit of extra. Lifting, 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 lifting. And release. You can windshield wipe your legs if it feels good. You're going to do one more. So when you're ready, flex your feet, arms back, and lift. And release. And again, windshield wipe if it feels good. Press up onto all four. Cross your shins, walk back, come to seated. Come into an L-sit, place your fingertips behind you, sit up really tall. Make sure you're sitting on your sit bones. If that's too hard for you, you can always sit on your blanket, sit on a block. And if you have super tight hamstrings, you don't need to move. This is a plenty of stretch for you, so you don't really need to go any deeper. But if you have the space, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen into the fold. If you can grab your feet, don't use them to pull yourself down really, really deep. No need for that. But you can get the connection with your feet. Maybe give yourself a little foot rub. So we're not going to force this kind of passive stretch. Really focus on length here. Use your inhale to, can you lengthen your spine just a little bit more? Slowly come back up. Make your way down onto your back. Hug your knees to your chest. Move a little from side to side. And then lay your left leg, come flat down. Hug your right knee. And finish off with a twist. Lengthen into your side body. Come back to center. And over to the other side. Come back to center and find your Shavasana. Close your eyes, let your palms face the ceiling, and relax your body, and relax your breath. And as always, stay in Shavasana as long as you need. Take that time for yourself. Thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.